Hello, fellow Beyblade enthusiasts. Why do I say stuff like that? Today we are going to be ranking every single one of the GT Beyblades. Now, Takara Tomy has released a bunch of GT Beyblades over the year. I think there is around like 22 of them, and we're going to be ranking every single one of them. So it's going to be a fairly long video, so grab your popcorn, take a seat, and yeah, let's get started. I'm going to be ranking the stock combos as a whole in this video, so that basically means maybe there's a Beyblade where the layer is the best layer in the game and it's super overpowered, but its stock combo has a really bad disc and driver, and maybe those parts hold the Beyblade down. That Beyblade's probably not going to be ranked very high on this list, even though the layer might be amazing, because the combo as a whole is kind of trash. Another thing I would like to say is that Beyblades that do not have stock combos, such as random layer Beyblades like Poison Hydra or Knockout Odin, I'm not going to be ranking those guys on the list, obviously, because they don't have stock combos. I'm going to go in the order from when the Beyblades were released, so we're going to start with Ace Dragon and end with Big Bang Genesis. Also, I should mention this is all my opinion. This video is just my opinion on all the GT Beyblades. If you have a different opinion, tell me in the comment section below. Please don't leave a dislike, because every time we get a dislike, it hurts my feelings. Let's finally get started. The first Beyblade to be released, like I said before, is Ace Dragon. I'm gonna be clumping the other layer bases, Rock Dragon and Grand Dragon, with Ace Dragon, but I'm mainly gonna be talking about Ace Dragon because, in my opinion, Ace Dragon's the best one out of the three layer bases, just because the combo for Ace Dragon's more attack oriented, and like you want an attack layer on like an attack driver, you know? So yeah, overall I think Ace Dragon is a very solid attack type Beyblade. The layer, the Ace base, it's not amazing at attack, but it gets the job done. It's alright. Same for the weight and the chip. The chip it has alright teeth, and the weight is decently heavy. Now the parts on Ace Dragon are actually pretty good. It comes with the Sting disc, and the Sting disc is one of the heaviest discs in the game, so that definitely helps with attack. And the driver is also one of the heaviest drivers in the game. It comes with a charge driver, and although charge is really heavy and definitely helps with impact, it also has a tendency to scrape the stadium floor a lot, so that's never really that good. But yeah, overall, I feel like Ace Dragon is just like a really solid, basic attack type Beyblade. It's very heavy, it gets the job done, but it's not amazing, so I think I'm gonna put this guy in B tier. The next Beyblade to be released is, of course, Slash Valkyrie, another attack-type Beyblade. Now, I always think Slash Valkyrie's not that bad of a Beyblade. I feel like its layer, although it's not super aggressive, it gets the job done. It's very similar to Ace Dragon, where it's not the best attack layer in the game, but it's still a decent attack layer. The disc is amazing. It comes with the Blitz disc. One of the heaviest discs in the game, just like the Sting disc, except I feel like it's more attack-orientated. And then finally, it comes with the Power Driver. And although the power driver, its gimmick doesn't work too well in real life, it's a spring-loaded gimmick, except the spring is just so tight that it doesn't really compress in battle. The driver isn't really all that bad, but it's nothing amazing. It's just like a normal attack-type Beyblade. And because it's so standard and so normal, you would think the Beyblade will probably be like average, it'll probably be decent. But no, for some reason, every time I use Slash Valkyrie, it always loses. It's always below average, and I just don't know why. I think it's because of the teeth. So Slash Valkyrie has some really unique teeth. It has one ginormous tooth and then two smaller teeth. And what I think happens is it gets one really large hit, and the ginormous tooth clicks, and then the two teeth don't provide enough burst resistance to keep Valkyrie from bursting. So this layer actually tends to burst quite a lot. And yeah, because of that, it's just not an amazing attack type Beyblade. But again, the parts aren't really that bad, and I think it should do better than it actually does, but it doesn't perform very well. It's definitely worse than Ace Dragon, but I don't think it's that much worse. We're gonna put it in C tier. Next up, we have the defense type Beyblade, Bhushan Ashura. And I'm sorry for anyone who's a fan of Bhushan Ashura. I will say the color scheme's really nice. I do like the color scheme, but this Beyblade is just horrible. In my opinion, this is the worst GT Beyblade. I'm gonna put an F tier right now. It's an F tier Beyblade. Now let me explain why. So the Bhushan Ashura layer, it's quite round, so that does give it decent stamina, but it also is quite rigid, which does not help with burst burst resistance at all, and the Beyblade comes with a really lightweight, and on top of that, the teeth on Bhushan Ashura for a GT Beyblade are horrible. The teeth are horrendous. Okay, well actually they're not horrible, they're just like below average, but again, for a GT Beyblade, it's not great. The disc on Bhushan Ashura is the Hurricane disc, and I freaking love the Hurricane disc, but I will admit the Hurricane disc is probably one of the worst discs in the game just because it's extremely light, and although it does have a free spin ring, the free spin is of course on the disc, and the disc doesn't really make contact, so the free spin's kind of rendered useless and just causes the Beyblade to lose stamina. And finally, it comes with the Keep driver, and the Keep driver is a good driver. Don't get me wrong, the Keep driver is really good for defense. It keeps the Beyblade from getting hit at the stadium because it's a free spin rubber ball driver, but the problem with Keep is that it grabs the stadium floor and causes the Beyblade to lose stamina, and that's not even that much of a problem. I feel like it's like a decent trade-off, but there is another problem to Keep. The other problem to Keep is because it grabs the stadium floor so well, it causes the layer to take a lot more recoil, because usually when two layers come into contact, they're able to disperse energy by moving across the stadium. Because Keep grabs the stadium so well, it doesn't disperse as much energy as most drivers, so most of the energy is dispersed through the layer, which causes the Beyblade to burst more often. It gives the Beyblade less burst resistance, and on a Beyblade like Bhushan Ashura that already doesn't have that great of burst resistance, the Keep driver is just not amazing. It just does not work on this Beyblade, and overall I really can't say anything good about this Beyblade. It's just a horrible Beyblade, and in my opinion it's the worst Beyblade in all of GT. It is going in F tier. Next, we have Jake's favorite Beyblade, Wizard Fastener. Now, I feel like Wizard Fastener gets a bad rep because it's nothing compared to the other Fasteners. The other Fasteners had at least fairly good burst resistance. Wizard Fastener literally bursts to everything. But I feel like although it has horrible burst resistance, it does its job well. It's a very good spin steel, life after death Beyblade. The layer has a bunch of rubber on it, it's quite circular, it's able to spin steel really well because it can create so much friction. And again, it has so much rubber on it. The disc is Racket. Racket is such an interesting disc. It only free spins one direction, so it helps with life after death, but at the same time, when it's versing other Beyblades, it can get solid hits on the disc because it's not free spin. And finally, the driver Rise. Although Rise isn't an amazing driver for stamina, it has really good life after death, and mixed with Racket, it's just a really good spin steel life after death combo. But again, it does struggle with burst resistance, and against any Beyblade that it can't steal spin from, it's 100% gonna lose. Left spin Beyblades, bro, this Beyblade's over against any left spin Beyblade. But yeah, if you're versing a right spin Beyblade and you weak launch it and you don't burst in like the first 20 seconds, chances are you're probably gonna win at spin steal and life after death. So yeah, although Fastener has a humongous weakness, it has a use. It's like a one-trick pony. It's not Bhushan Ashura. Bhushan Ashura is bad at everything. Fastener has one use, and it does its job well. It does its one job well. It does its other jobs horribly, though. Again, horrible burst resistance. I think I'm gonna put it in C tier. I think it's comparable to Valkyrie. I actually think it's better than Valkyrie, so we're gonna put it above Valkyrie in C tier. A bunch of people are gonna get mad at me, but I think it has a winning matchup against most right spin Beyblades. If you weak launch it, it's probably not gonna burst, because of course if you weak launch it's gonna have better burst resistance, and then you can win at life after death. It's a solid Beyblade. I don't know why people give it so much hate. Next, we have the first random booster prize bay to be released in GT, that prize bay being Cosmo Valkyrie. Now, where do I begin with Cosmo Valkyrie? I guess we'll start off with the layer. Cosmo Valkyrie's layer, decent teeth, the weight is fairly light, but the layer is extremely round, which definitely helps with stamina. It's quite a good stamina layer. Next up we have the disc, and oh my goodness, the disc 100% holds this Beyblade back. For some reason, Takara Tomy thought it was a good idea to release the 11 disc on a GT Beyblade, and it's, oh my god, the 11 disc is horrible. It's the second lightest disc in the game, and it doesn't help the combo at all. But finally we have the driver, and the driver is Eternal, and Eternal is actually a really good stamina type driver. There's nothing really bad to say about Eternal. But the problem with this Beyblade is that because its disc is so light, the Beyblade is just extraordinarily light. And although it should have good stamina theoretically, it gets hit around the stadium so much that it loses stamina whenever it gets hit, because it's literally flying around the stadium because it's so light. And yeah, overall, it's just not a good Beyblade. Do I think it's as bad as Bhushan Ashura? No, I think it's better than Bhushan Ashura. I'm gonna have to put it in D tier. Enough talking about bad Beyblades, let's move on to some good Beyblades. Next we have Judgement Joker. And oh my goodness, Judgement Joker is an amazing Beyblade. Let's start off with the layer. The layer for Judgement Joker is crazy. It 100% carries the stock combo for Judgement Joker. It just has amazing rubber contact points. Rubber contact points are super sharp, which give the Beyblade extreme attack power. Not only does it have amazing rubber contact points, it has a rubber burst stopper, which prevents the Beyblade well, it doesn't prevent the Beyblade from bursting, but it definitely helps the Beyblade with burst resistance. Next up, it has the Double O disc, and the Double O disc is so good. It's the best, heaviest core disc in all the game. Now, the only bad part on Judgement Joker has to be the driver. It comes with the trick driver, and although the trick driver is really fun to use, it's very inconsistent. It's a balance type driver that changes mode in the middle of battle, and the stamina mode on the trick driver isn't the best. It doesn't really have that much stamina for being a stamina mode, and the attack mode is so crazy that it's super hard to control. And usually if you use trick on like any other Beyblade, it renders the Beyblade useless, but Judgement Joker's other parts are just so good that even with the trick frame, it's still a really solid, really good Beyblade. And because the layer is so good for attack, and because it comes with such a good disc, I'm gonna have to put this guy in A tier. It's a really good Beyblade. If it gets one hit, the other Beyblade's done. The other Beyblade either gets shot out of the stadium or bursts. This thing is insane. So yeah, definitely an A tier Beyblade. I don't think it's S tier again, because I feel like the trick driver kind of holds it back, but it's still, again, a really solid Beyblade. Next, we have the second left spin Beyblade of the GT system, and in my opinion, the best looking dragon Beyblade. Don't fight me, Jake. We have Dredd Bahamut, and although I think Dredd Bahamut looks amazing, I don't think it performs very well. The layer is fairly round, which allows the Beyblade to spin steel well. It has horrible teeth though, but that's not really a problem because the stock combo does come with the Gen weight, which definitely helps with burst resistance. It doesn't prevent the Beyblade from bursting, but it doesn't burst as often as it would if it didn't have the Gen weight. Next up, we have the disc. The disc on this Beyblade is 7. Now 7 it's not an amazing core disc, but it's not a bad core disc. It's kind of average. Next, we have the driver, Metal Orbit. Metal Orbit, it's a solid defense type driver in my opinion. It's not amazing, like it's not atomic, but I would say it's like one of the better defense drivers. It's definitely usable. It also has fairly good life after death, which is really optimal for a left spin Beyblade, because half the time, or more than half the time, you're probably going to be versing a right spin Beyblade, and the battle's going to end at like spin, steal, and life after death. And if you don't have better life after death than your opponent, then you're probably going to lose. So having a driver, like a free spin driver like Metal Orbit, is quite good for a left spin Beyblade like Dredd Bahamut. Now the problem I have with Dredd Bahamut is the frame. Dredd Bahamut comes with the wall frame, and the wall frame is really only good on the bearing driver, because for some reason when you combine wall with bearing, it has really good life after death, but with any other driver, the wall frame tends to scrape like crazy, and that is horrible for Dredd Bahamut, because that causes the Beyblade to have like, although the Metal Orbit has really good life after death, mixed with the wall frame, it causes the Beyblade to have horrendous life after death, because the frame scrapes, again, it scrapes like crazy. But yeah, against left spin Beyblades, I feel like it's a really solid defense type Beyblade. It can defend really well against left spin Beyblades. It's kind of the opposite of Fastener. Fastener does horrible against left spin Beyblades, but it does pretty good against right spin Beyblades. Dredd Bahamut does horrible against right spin Beyblades because it has bad life after death, but it does amazing, or not amazing, but it does well against left spin Beyblades because it has has decent defense. They're kind of like different sides of the same coin. And because of that, I think I'm gonna put them in the same tier. I'm gonna put Dredd Bahamut above Fastener though, because if you gave me the option between Dredd Bahamut and Fastener, I think I would pick Dredd Bahamut, just because although Dredd Bahamut doesn't have a winning matchup against right spin Beyblades, it can still sometimes win against right spin Beyblades. If you're using Fastener against a left spin Beyblade, there's like a 99% chance that you're gonna lose. So yeah, Dredd Bahamut goes in C tier above Fastener. Next up, oh whoa, we have another left spin Beyblade. We have Zwei Longness. Now, this is probably the best left spin Beyblade we've talked about so far. Zwei Longness is just an amazing attack type Beyblade. The layer base is so cool because I think it's the only layer base in all of GT that has metal in the layer and you can use any weight on it, so that just makes the Beyblade extremely heavy. And not only that, its shape is so aggressive. It has an insane attack type shape and the teeth are really good as well. Moving on to the disc, the Drake disc is not that heavy. It's not the best disc in the world, but it definitely looks cool, and it doesn't really need to be that heavy because the layer is just so heavy that it kind of makes up for the light disc. Finally, we have the Spiral Dash driver, and I'm not gonna lie, Spiral Dash isn't amazing. It's definitely not one of the best attack type drivers in the game, but I feel like because the layer is just so good, it makes up for the driver, and it's not like Spiral is unusable. I would definitely use Spiral over something like Trick. No, at least Spiral's consistent. You always know what Spiral's gonna do. Is it gonna do what you want it to do every time? Probably not, but at least you know like how the driver is gonna perform and how your Beyblade's gonna perform in the stadium. So yeah, the layer is extremely heavy, has insane attack power, and although the disc and driver aren't that great, the layer definitely makes up for it, and this Beyblade is just a really good attack type left spin Beyblade, probably the best attack type left spin Beyblade we have in GT, and because of that, I'm gonna have to put it in A tier. Do I think it's better than Judgement Joker? I think they're quite even. I think they're very even. I feel like Judgement Joker has better attack power, but it has the Trick driver, and Longness is a bit more consistent. Oh, I'm gonna put Longness behind Judgement Joker. The only reason, oh yeah, by the way, the only reason Longness isn't in S tier is because against some right spin Beyblades, it doesn't have that great of life after death. So if the battle goes into stamina life after death, Longness is 100% gonna lose. But most of the time, it really doesn't get to that point because Longness is able to defeat its opponent before it gets there. All right, next up, let's move on to another really hype layer. We have Venom Diabolos. Now, I'm gonna clump Erase and Venom Diabolos together like I did with Dragon and its layer bases just because it's easier that way. But unlike Dragon, where I think that Ace is probably the best layer base compared to all the other ones, it has like a definitive best layer base, I feel like Diabolos's layer bases are evenly matched. It basically depends. Do you want to go left spin or do you want to go right spin? Alright, let's talk about the layer first. Both layer bases, Erase and Venom, I feel like are solid layer bases. They're not amazing, but they're not great. They're no Judgement Joker is what I'm trying to say, but they're no Bhushan Ashura. What really makes the Diabolos layer shine is its chip. The Diabolos chip is extremely heavy. It's the only chip in the game that fuses the chip with the weight. Not only is the Diabolos chip heavy, it has really good teeth, so the layer overall is really good. Next up, we have the disc. The disc is Vanguard, and Vanguard is kind of low to the ground. It's not like extremely heavy, but it's not like super light. It's kind of like an average disc, and usually Vanguard would scrape on the stadium floor, but that's not a problem because we have the Bullet driver. Now, the Bullet driver, I think, is the heaviest driver in the game, and it's also the tallest driver, and that sounds amazing. You're like, heaviest, tallest, this Beyblade must be broken. This driver is super awesome. But no, the Bullet driver is extremely gimmicky. It'll release like a miniature Beyblade sometimes in the middle of the battle, and it might help you, but most of the time it's a detriment. Most of the time you hit yourself with your own driver, and it's honestly not that great. And when the Bullet driver is released, it causes the Beyblade to seem like extremely off balance and scrape a lot. So yeah, the Bullet driver is definitely holding Diabolos back. I feel like it's holding Diabolos back so much that I can't even put Diabolos in A tier. I don't think it's comparable to Zwei Longness or Judgement Joker, so I'm gonna put Diabolos in B tier. It's still like an okay Beyblade. Like, I feel like if the Bullet driver doesn't like shoot out in the middle of battle battle, it's a solid Beyblade, because the layer, of course, is really heavy, solid layer, and the disc isn't horrible. So yeah, we're gonna put Diabolos in B tier. We're gonna put him above Ace Dragon. I think it's slightly better than Ace Dragon. Onto the second random booster Takara Tomy released in the GT series, the prize Beyblade of Random Booster Volume 16 is of course Flare Dragon. Now Flare Dragon, I don't know what's with Takara Tomy and releasing these stamina type Beyblades in Random Booster, because first we got like Cosmo Valkyrie and now we have Flare Dragon, another stamina type Beyblade. Now Flare Dragon is extremely big, the layer is humongous, and the gimmick is really cool. It has the metal ball gimmick, kind of similar to Zeus's gimmick back in the God series and the Dual Layer series. And yeah, I mean, the layer is really heavy, really big, but the problem with the layer is that it just doesn't have very good burst resistance. It bursts a lot. But the other parts on this Beyblade aren't that bad. Next up, we have the disc, the Around disc. The Around disc is actually really good. I would say it's probably one of the best discs in the game. Its gimmick is that it has metal balls on the bottom of the disc, which are supposed to help when scraping, so the Beyblade doesn't really scrape that much, and also the Around disc is fairly heavy. Finally, we have the Planet Driver, and although the Planet Driver is not the best driver in the world, it's definitely not the worst driver in the world. So yeah, overall, I mean, it definitely does not have that great of burst resistance, and I don't even think it has that great of stamina for being a stamina type Beyblade. I would say its stamina is like above average probably. I don't know, it's not a horrible Beyblade, but there's just nothing special to it. I think I'm gonna put it in C tier below Wizard Fafner, because at least Wizard Fafner has like winning matchups. I feel like Flare Dragon is just like an even matchup against like every single Beyblade, maybe even like a slightly losing matchup against every single Beyblade. So yeah, it's gonna go in C tier, below Wizard Fafner and above Valkyrie. Oh no, next up we have Heaven Pegasus. This is my second favorite GT Beyblade, but I will admit it does have a reputation of being one of the worst GT Beyblades. Let's just get started with the layer. Heaven Pegasus has a really cool gimmick. Heaven Pegasus's gimmick is that it has a click regaining gimmick. So whenever it loses clicks, if you hit Heaven Pegasus in a certain spot, if you hit its golden wings, it'll regain clicks. But for this gimmick to work, they had to give Heaven Pegasus weak teeth, and because of the weak teeth, it causes the Beyblade to burst a lot. And the reason why it bursts, you're like, wait, why would it burst? Because theoretically it should never burst, because it's regaining clicks. It'll only regain clicks if you hit the golden wings, and most of the time you're not going to hit the golden wings, so you're just going to burst Heaven Pegasus. And it's really sad because the Beyblade's really pretty. I love the Beyblade. I think its color scheme is amazing, but sadly the gimmick is the gimmick's really cool, but it's holding it down. It's horrible. I'm so sad. It's such a sad Beyblade. All right, next up we have the disc, and the disc is really good. It comes with the 10 disc, which is one of the heaviest core discs in the game, and it also comes with a proof frame, which is super good for life after death. Finally, we have the driver, the low driver. Now, the low driver, everyone thought was going to be amazing because it's like a metal revolve, but it actually doesn't really help the Beyblade that much. It doesn't actually have that much stamina for a stamina type driver, and because of that, Heaven Pegasus is just not that great of a Beyblade, although it has decent life after... No, it doesn't even have that great of life after death, because the low driver is actually bad at life after death as well. So it doesn't have that great of life after death, it doesn't have that great of stamina, and it has horrible burst resistance. This thing's an F tier. As sad as I am to say that Heaven Pegasus sucks, it sucks. It's horrible. It's an F tier. It bursts all the time. Doesn't even have that great of stamina. It has decent life after death, but you would think it would have better life after death considering it has the proof frame. I still think it's better than Bhushan Ashura though, so it's gonna go above Bhushan Ashura in F tier. I'm sorry, Heaven Pegasus, you're amazing. Oh my goodness, next we have the best Beyblade in all of GT. It's my favorite Beyblade, and I might be biased saying that. No, I'm not biased, because I 100% believe that this is the best Beyblade in all of GT. Next we have, of course, Lordspringing. Now let me just tell you why Lordspringing is so great, other than the fact that it's a Spriggan. Even if Lordspringing was bad, I'd probably still like it because it's Spriggan. Alright, first off, the layer is amazing. It is so good. You know how we were talking about Judgement Joker having rubber, and rubber being like amazing for attack? Spriggan also has rubber. You know how we were talking about Longness having metal in the layer and that being really good? good. Spriggan also has metal fused into the layer, and just like Diabolos, Spriggan is dual spin. So, oh my goodness, it has everything. No, again, it has burst stoppers, just like Judgement Joker. It is just so good, and the teeth are amazing as well. It's definitely the best layer in all of GT. I remember when they released it, everyone was like, what the heck, Takara, tell me, why did you create such a busted layer? They gave it literally everything. Alright, moving on to the next part, we have the disc. It comes with the Blitz disc, which is one of the heaviest discs in the game. It is super good, and the driver it comes with is Dimension Dash, which is extremely versatile. The one problem I do have with Dimension Dash is that it doesn't have very good life after death, but that's not a problem with Spriggan, because why do you need life after death when you're dual spin? You never have to verse an opposite spin Beyblade, because you can always just go the same spin because you're dual spin, so you're never going to have a battle where it's going to go down to life after death if you're always the same spin as your opponent. Overall, this Beyblade is just extremely solid. All the parts are really good. The layer especially is just amazing. It's 100% an S tier Beyblade. I don't think anyone's arguing that. Lordspringing it's just great. S tier. Okay, sorry, I gotta calm down. What Beyblade do we have? Oh, we have Union Achilles. I can't calm down. Union Achilles is amazing as well. I don't know why people think Union Achilles is bad. I think Union Achilles is one of the best GT Beyblades. Sorry, I'm gonna calm down now. I'm sorry. Okay, let's talk about the layer first. The Union Achilles layer, it's very aggressive, but at the same time, it's rather round. So although it's aggressive, it does have quite a bit of stamina. It has two modes. It has a power mode and a speed mode. Never use the speed mode. Always use the power mode. I don't know why you would ever use the speed mode. Next up, we have the disc, and I think this is why most people don't like Union Achilles. The convert disc, it has a gimmick where you can change it from a balance mode to an unbalanced mode. I always go with balance mode. There's really no use for the unbalanced mode in my opinion, but it's very low to the ground, so the Beyblade does tend to scrape a lot, which I think is why most people don't think the Beyblade's very good. But the driver on Union Achilles is insane. It comes with the Extend Plus driver, and the Extend Plus driver has amazing life after death. It has amazing life after death, and it has 3 modes, which are, it's super versatile. You have an attack mode, a defense mode, and a stamina type mode. The best mode on Extend Plus, at least in my opinion, is of course the stamina type mode. When on the stamina type mode, Union Achilles is just an extremely good stationary attack Beyblade. The layer, again, is super aggressive, but it has some stamina, so when it hits other Beyblades, it just causes extreme impact, and it's just super awesome. It always manages to win against my ultimate combos and my full combos, even when Beyblades that people deem better than it lose. And it's, oh my god, I just think it's so underrated. Like, okay, the convert disc scrapes, but I feel like if you just launch it straight in stamina mode, it just has enough stationary attack power that it can beat most Beyblades. So yeah, I mean, it does scrape, so I don't think I'm gonna put it in S tier with Spriggan, because I don't think it's even comparable to Spriggan, but it is a really good Beyblade. I'm gonna have to put it in A tier. It's probably top of A tier. It's gonna be top of A tier. Oof, those 2 Beyblades were amazing. So let's move on to a Beyblade that's not so amazing. Next we have the prize bay of Random Booster Volume 17, Tact Longness. Now, Tact Longness, in my opinion, looks gorgeous. I love the color scheme. It's kind of like Kevin Pegasus. It looks really cool, but it's not that great. The gimmick is really cool. Depending on the weight will depend on how many spikes protrude out of the Longness Beyblade, which is amazing. Although, honestly, the spikes don't really help. The spikes actually make the Beyblade lose a lot of stamina. It's a really chunky Beyblade, though, so it does have a lot of defense, but stamina-wise, this Beyblade does not have really good stamina at all. Next, we have the disc, and the disc holds this Beyblade back so much. This Beyblade could have so much potential. The layer's not amazing, but it's not bad, but the disc 100% ruins this combo. It comes with the 12 expand disc, and again, why did they release such a light disc on a GT Beyblade? They did the same thing with Cosmo Valkyrie. They gave Cosmo Valkyrie the 11 disc. They gave Tact Longness the 12 disc, the lightest disc in the game, and unlike Cosmo Valkyrie, Tact Longness's layer layer is really heavy, it's really big, so it's not that big of a problem, but it still hinders the Beyblade, and it causes the Beyblade to not have that much stamina, not be very good, and still to be like, although the layer is really heavy, the disc is just so light that the Beyblade overall is rather light, and it's just really bad. Alright, next up we have the expand frame. The expand frame, it's alright, it's not horrible, it's not the best, I feel like it's an okay frame. And finally we have the Trans Dash driver, and Trans was really cool back in the dual layer series, but it's just not very good anymore, especially when you compare it to other mode changing drivers such as Extend Plus. Yeah, I mean, the stamina type mode doesn't really have that much stamina, and the attack mode isn't really that great, combined with the fact that it has horrible life after death. On the left spin Beyblade, usually left spin Beyblades, again, it's kind of a trend, usually you want good life after death on left spin Beyblades, and when a left spin Beyblade doesn't have good life after death, it's usually not that great. So yeah, I think I'm gonna put this guy in D tier with the other random booster prize Beyblade that doesn't have a very good disc. I don't think it's F tier, I don't think it's comparable to Heaven Pegasus or Bhushan Ashura, but it's definitely not a good Beyblade. I'm gonna put it above Cosmo Valkyrie though. It's probably above Cosmo Valkyrie. Moving on, let's talk about the Infinite Lock system Beyblades. First off, we have Prime Apocalypse, and Prime Apocalypse is a really cool looking Beyblade. It's so cool. I love its color scheme. It's black and red. What's a better color scheme than that? Nothing. Like, look at Shiny Charizard. Shiny Charizard is amazing. Prime Apocalypse looks amazing. Now, although it looks amazing, I don't think it's the best attack type layer in the game. It's quite round, so that doesn't really help with attack. And although the Infinite Lock system prevents the Beyblade from bursting, which is definitely a bonus, I feel like it kind of sponges attacks. Whenever Prime Apocalypse gets a really good attack, the clicks kind of sponge it, which isn't very good in my opinion. But the parts on Prime Apocalypse aren't bad at all. It comes with the Zero Dagger disc. Zero is a really heavy core disc, and Dagger is it's an okay frame, and it also comes with the Ultimate Reboot Dash driver, and Ultimate Reboot's pretty good, but I wouldn't say it's like one of the best drivers or one of the best attack type drivers in the game. So yeah, I don't think it's as good as Longness or Judgement Joker in attack, so I don't think I'm gonna put it in A tier, but it's still a solid Beyblade. I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. Ooh, is it better than Diabolos? Yeah, I think it's better than Diabolos. Okay, we're gonna put Prime Apocalypse and B tier above Diabolos. Next up, we have the better Infinite Lock system Beyblade, in my opinion. Here we have Regalia Genesis. Now, Regalia Genesis, unlike Prime Apocalypse, is a defense-type Beyblade. It has a similar shape to Prime Apocalypse, except it doesn't have as jagged of edges. It's a lot rounder, which is fairly good. I feel like the Infinite Lock system Beyblade's definitely more suited for a defense or stem-type Beyblade rather than an attack-type Beyblade like Prime Apocalypse, just because it doesn't sponge the hits, you know? So overall, the layer's pretty good because it's an Infinite Lock system Beyblade. It doesn't burst very often, it's pretty heavy, and it's quite round. Now moving on to the disc, and driver, because it's one part, we have the Hybrid Driver. And the Hybrid Driver, it's so fun to use. Now I do think the Hybrid Driver is fairly good. Now, the Hybrid Driver is a motorized driver, and it's kind of like a motorized Ultimate Reboot. It'll be in the middle of the stadium, but then the motor will go off, and it'll cause the Beyblade to, like, go into an attack-type motion. It'll give the Beyblade more stamina, and sometimes, like, I've had battles with the Hybrid Driver where, like, my Hybrid Driver glitched, and it'll literally go around the tornado ring for 5 minutes straight. It's insane, and it's so good. The only problem with the Hybrid Driver is that sometimes it's really good and you get the exact hits that you want. It activates at the exact time that you want it, and sometimes it's not very good. It's very unpredictable, and because of that, I don't think I can put it in S tier. So I'm gonna put this guy in high A tier. It's probably the best A tier we have right now. I think it's better than Longness and Judgement Joker. So yeah, I mean, it's a solid Beyblade. Alright, the final 3 Beyblades of the GT series are actually just upgrade versions of other Beyblades from the GT series. Next up, we have Imperial Dragon. This Beyblade is crazy. It almost has as many gimmicks as Spriggan. It has rubber on the layer, it has a bound attack, it has metal infused into the layer base. It's so chunky, it's extremely heavy, and it's a very ovular shape, so that gives the Beyblade really good attack power. Now, the only problem with the layer is that the layer base is not leveled with the teeth, which means that the layer has really weak teeth, causing the Beyblade to burst more often. Next up, we have the disc, which is fused with the driver like the other Beyblade we talked about. It's also a mechanized driver. It is going to be the Ignition Dash driver. Now, the Ignition Dash driver, unlike the Hybrid driver, which is kind of like an ultimate reboot, the Ignition Dash driver, the gimmick to it is that it switches spin direction. And it's so cool watching a right spin Beyblade like spin towards the right and then spin towards the left. It can definitely catch other Beyblades off balance. The one downside to the driver, though, is that when it does change spin direction, it causes the Beyblade to like tilt and scrape the stadium a bit. You can't really perform flower patterns, but that's not really that bad because, of course, it's a mechanized driver, so it'll go to the middle of the stadium between attacks. Also, I forgot to mention this about the Hybrid driver as well. These mechanized drivers have really good life after death just because they're so round. Now, do I think Imperial Dragon is S tier? I don't think it's S tier just because it doesn't have very good burst resistance, but oh my goodness, if they gave this Beyblade better burst resistance, it would 100% be S tier. It's just so good at attack, and the driver is just, oh my god, it's amazing. It's such a good Beyblade. It's such a shame that it bursts so often. But yeah, again, still a really good Beyblade. I'm gonna have to put it in A tier. Do I think it's better than Regalia Genesis? Oh, that's a hard one. Oh, yeah. I think if it doesn't burst, it's 100% better than Regalia Genesis, but it does burst quite often. Oh, I'm gonna have to put it behind Regalia Genesis. No, we're putting it in front of Regalia Genesis. Whatever, it's cooler. We're putting it in front of Regalia Genesis. Next up, we have Delta's upgraded Beyblade, Master Diabolos. And Master Diabolos, oh my goodness, this Beyblade is insane. Let's talk about the layer first. Oh, I totally forgot about its gimmick. The layer's gimmick is so cool. It's a flippable layer. So it has two modes. You can flip the layer to right spin attack mode, and then you can flip it the other way to get more of a left spin defense mode. And the layer is just insanely good. It has a lot of metal in it, so the layer's really heavy, and it's super versatile because, of course, you can switch modes between right and left, and like you can switch between like attack and defense modes. It's just really good. The layer is so solid, and when it, in my opinion, I think the left spin mode's better just because it's so round that it can steel spin really well. All right, and yeah, moving on to the driver, which is actually, again, a fusion of the disc and driver. We have the Generate driver, and the Generate driver, I feel like with the Diabolo Slayer, is just really solid. It's really good. So the Generate driver is the opposite of Ultimate Reboot. It starts off in attack mode and then moves towards a stamina mode during the middle of the battle, and yeah, honestly, it's just a really good Beyblade. The Generate driver is, I wouldn't say it's the best driver in the game, but it's definitely, it works really well on Master Diabolos. So yeah, just because the layer is super versatile, it's really good, and the driver isn't really half bad, I think this guy's an S tier. I think Master Diabolos is an S tier. It's definitely not as good as Spriggan, so we're gonna put Master Diabolos after Spriggan. Okay, we made it, boys. Finally on to the last one. We have Big Bang Genesis. Now, again, we're doing stock combo, so unlike the anime where Big Bang Genesis has the Generate driver, the stock combo for Big Bang Genesis is 0 yard metal. So yeah, let's start off with the layer. The layer for Big Bang Genesis, it's really heavy. Again, it has the infinite lock system gimmick, so it doesn't burst that often. The problem with Big Bang Genesis, in my opinion, although it's really chunky, it's really heavy, it's very rigid, so it's not very good at, I mean, it's good at stamina, but it's not as good at stamina defense as Regalia Genesis, in my opinion. Alright, next up we have the disc. It comes with a 0 disc, which is fairly good. And then finally we have the driver, which is yard metal, or metal yard, which I think metal yard's quite good. So yeah, overall, it's just a really solid Beyblade combo. Do I think it's like an S tier? I don't think it's an S tier. I don't think it compares to Master Diabolos or Lordspringing, but it's still a really good Beyblade. I would probably put it in A tier. Ooh, I think it's the worst A tier though. I think Regalia Genesis is better just because the Generate driver is probably better than 0 metal yard. But I do think that's, oh, it does have the Big Bang ring though. No, I still think Regalia is probably better. I think I'm gonna put Big Bang Genesis at the end of A tier. It's still a really solid Beyblade. So yeah, that was my GT layer tier list. Overall, I feel like the GT layer series was really solid. I really enjoyed it. I really loved the gimmick where you could customize the layers, and I'm really excited to see the new Sparking series and see what new Beyblades we're going to be receiving. We're 100% getting like a new Achilles, a new Dragon, a new Spriggan, Fastener, Longness, all those Beyblades, because those guys or their owners are already revealed to be in the anime. Louis, Free, Shu, Aiga, Drum, they're all going to be in the new series. So I'm super excited to see those new Beyblades Sparking version, and I'll probably make a tier list of the new Sparking Beyblades once we get all of them, or once the series ends. So yeah, remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Leave a like, please, because I like likes, and please leave a comment because I love reading comments. I read all my comments. Do I respond to all my comments? I don't, because that would take a really long time. But I do read all of them, so your voices are heard. Anyway, see you guys later. Have a nice day. LeftBurst out.